Good morning, everybody. At least it's morning for me. Want to tell you guys, we've got a pretty interesting little video. It's a very simple one, but most of this hardware that I've been doing recently comes out of a book called the Sorber Collection, which is a collection of colonial hardware. And, a lot of these pieces are the everyday tools that people use to get work done around the home and the farm. And I think we overlook, one of the great things about blacksmithing is that it can be art, but blacksmiths for the longest time made the things that allowed you to essentially live and function, at your own home. And this thing, whereas super simple, made life so much easier for somebody that was loading hay for the animals. So the really interesting thing about doing the hay hook is, in fact, where the forge weld is. And a lot of times, like if you're making a rasp tomahawk, if you start with a bow tie of just high carbon steel, you may have this tendency to say, well, I'll just make the bow tie, flip it around, fuse it, and there we go. Well, that's not exactly the case. The additional reason that you actually put an insert into that end is that if you forge weld that blade together, then that seam is directly on the edge of the axe, which is just not good. So when you put that third piece in there, it allows you to properly position that forge weld where it's not being exposed to damage. So very much like with this hay hook, the forge weld is not on the end of the hook. It's actually set back from the hook itself so that it's protected and it doesn't have a chance to be torn out. So what we've done with our piece here is we've made our actual first hook, and now we are working on the handle. Now, even though the handle ends up being a T-shape, we're going to basically just make a loop. You can see that the end of this bar has been beveled, and it's prepped for a weld. So I'm trying to gather enough material, because that's always the thing, isn't it? Like, it's always deceiving how much material that you need for a bend or a curl. At least it's always been that way for me. So I'm going to get as much as I can, and then I'm going to tap that thing down, and then we're ready to give it a couple of shakes of borax and then take a good heat. There's good forge welding heat. This is the first forge weld. Now this is where I'll tap it, just kind of get everything seated. There's not a lot of pressure there. I'm just really getting this thing set. A little more shaky of the borax. It goes back into the fire for a full welding heat, and there we go. Now, when you look at historical examples, the crazy thing is the wide variety of the quality of the finish. Like in some hay hooks, I have seen a forge weld that was just stuck there and then it just left. Then, like I'm doing here, I've seen some that are just beautifully blended in. And at the end of the day, outside of the craftsmanship question, which one moved more hay in its time? And I weirdly don't think that there's going to be much of a difference. That's one of the aggravating things about doing historical ironwork, because the examples that we have are rough. I mean, they did not need to be made by master craftsmen. This was something that simply needed to function. And I think the best example of this, there was a Viking tool chest called the Mastemere find. And I always kind of laugh, because here's this tool chest with this blacksmith, everything the blacksmith needed to do his work. And I remember looking at the blacksmith's tongs, and they sucked. They were terrible, but they clearly functioned. I mean, I would be embarrassed to pull those out. But here's a blacksmith that's making weapons of war to defend, his village. He's making all the tools that they need, and he's using super crappy tongs. But at the end of the day, did they work? So to make our T-handle, I'm going to put our weld in our vise, just like this, and we're going to give it some tappy taps to give it the original shape here. Now, I think when doing this hardware, this is where I have the toughest time, because my OCD is screaming because that left-hand arm is not level, right? And, as I'm going through with this piece, I'll shape it over the horn of the anvil, try to open it up a little bit, but, because I've been raised in the modern day, I'm used to things being machine perfect, and I want them to be machine perfect. But Unless you have made a jig, you're going to have a tough time getting this thing that super close without just driving yourself crazy. And again, you know, I've got Mr. Rich that's editing these videos for me. Oh, drop that. God, I was just about to say, he leaves a lot of crap in these videos that's terribly embarrassing. So, yeah, don't feel bad if you drop stuff. But you can see now, I'm looking at this. It's not exactly even, and now I'm going to beat this thing to death trying to get it exactly even, and I'm going to have myself a hissy fit. Like right here, I'm going, Jesus Christ, I need a jig. This sucks, right? Because we're filming this, we got to show it off. You know, I'm supposed to be a proper blacksmith, and this damn thing isn't even. But again, you know, this goes to point out that when you don't have the right tools for the job, you can still make something that functions. It's just not going to be perfect. It's not going to be even. Like, I should have been done with this thing like 4 minutes ago, right? And I'm still dicking with it. And I'm telling you, I can see it's offset. I'm telling you, when I was making it, I could see it was offset, and it is. I should leave it alone right there, but nope, can't stand it. Got to tippy tap, and now I have made it worse. So I'm sure at some point I'm just going to say to hell with it. It's good enough. We'll edit it in post. But that's really what's going on here, you know. And for those of you out there that are, you know, are really getting your skills up, you know, and are spending time, don't feel bad that your stuff isn't even. I mean, recognize the fact that it's not even. But if I wanted to make this thing even, I would have made a jig for it. So I'll draw the hook out just a little bit more. I felt like it was a little short. And guys, if you're wondering why this kind of seems so half-ended, because we are literally going out into the shop. We are pointing to something in our book, a photograph, an original tool, and I am making this flat off the hip. So understand that this is like extemporaneous blacksmithing. I'm not, like, we had a rough week. I had no time to plan. So we literally, just a couple of minutes prior to filming this, pointed to this in an antique book and said, okay, we're going to make this. So in my defense, it was crud on a time frame. So, but I can say this. I can say it's not neat. It's not overly refined. But this functions. It works. It's not even, but there's nobody back in the day that's going to worry about if your handles are even. You know, can I work with it? Can I work with it comfortably? And that's it. So a little bit of offset. Oh God, that's not even round. Oh, God, it's painful. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you being here. These last videos have been that way, so tune in for more later. Please like and subscribe. See you later.